Hey there, Photoshop tutorial coming at you, if you like it or not. A friend of mine gave me a photo that he asked me to Photoshop, or asked him how he would Photoshop it. He's got a concept in mind that he wanted to do, and this is a reference photo that he sent to me. And the idea is it's a picture within a picture, within a picture within a picture, potentially. And so this photo of this guy is also printed on the mug that he's holding. So, kind of Inception thing going on. Except in this case, I don't think it doesn't look like it's actually on the mug that's on the mug, um, which would be an extra step. So we're gonna go that extra step today because I thought it'd be fun, and I have a ton of client work that I'm doing, but needed a break from it, and I thought this would be a fun excuse to do a fun holiday Photoshop tutorial. So like I said, here's the photo he gave me. Really amazing capture. Love the expressions, love the dog, love the composition. Really nailed it. So what his concept that he wants to do is put this photo in a frame behind their heads. So it's the same photo replicated, photo within a photo within a photo. And so what we are going to do is, first of all, you want to find your assets. So first thing I did, went to Google, typed in frame stock image PNG. PNG, what that means is it's a file type alternative to JPEG that supports transparent pixels. And that is what that means is in this frame within, not the picture frame, but within the composition, the gray and white checker boxes represent negative space, or essentially places in that photo where there are no pixels. And so you can see right through it to the background. That gray and white checker box indicates just the background, negative space. And you can see that in Photoshop as well. And so I found this nice picture frame. He didn't tell me what vibe or whatever to go for, so I thought it'd be funny or cool to do this really fancy high-end gold frame. I think it will be fun and cool effect, but you got to look out for the ones that don't have watermarks. Now, what I'm going to do. All right, so I'm also going to assume that he doesn't want this white sheet in the background. I'm just going to take that initiative and guess that. So first things first, let's unlock that layer. Sorry, I might not explain everything I'm doing perfectly, so feel free to ask questions. But what I did there is grab the quick selection, which is W, quick selection tool that is, and I am tracing the space behind their heads, what should be a white wall or whatever. Okay. Make sure I get all the. I'm going to jump over to a different tool, marquee. I'm going to add to my selection. Boom. Using Shift. Shift click is how you add to your selection. And then Option click is how you subtract from your selection. So boom. Okay. Pretty good. And the reason that tool works so well is because, and I don't know, I'm sure he did this on purpose, but it was a great idea, is to shoot on a high contrast, a background that is high contrast compared to your subject. So there's a very sharp, crisp edge where their heads and their faces and their clothes meets the white wall in the background, and that makes it much easier to do these selections. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just save that as a selection, and I use my channels panel. This is some deep secret right here. I got turned on to this, and this was a game changer, so take notes. Channels panel, you can store your masks. I don't know why this never occurred to me, but save selection as a channel. And basically it's just a place to store your masks. and you can refer back to them later. So the other thing I did was go to Google and type in white brick wall, because I thought it'd be cool to have white brick as the background. Comes in with a bounding box, transformable, so hold shift to keep the aspect ratio consistent. We're going to drag it to the space that we need it to take up, and I'm going into the tree because I actually want it. Now let me quickly make this at 50% opacity so we can see what's behind it. I want it to also appear behind this tree. I'm going to fake this photo a little bit, but that's what it's all about. So hopefully that's cool. Hold on one sec. Grabbing a stool for my feet. Also not in my office today. It's a little late, so forgive me for the poor lighting and poor audio quality. So enter. That's the size I want it. Enter. And I'm also going to drag it upwards a little bit. Now, I have it at 50% opacity just so I can see what's happening in the background. I'm going to temporarily hide that layer. Going to press C for crop, and I'm extending our composition vertically so that we have more space above them, and enter. Now, why did I do that? Because this photo, if you were to fit it in a frame above them, it would get cropped off at this line, but I want more space to work with. So another good, thing to keep in mind as you're shooting, if you know the concept ahead of time and you know that you're going to put a frame above them. So select the bottom layer, M for just basic marquee tool. Select those transparent pixels. Shift delete brings up your fill box. Contents, choose content aware. Enter. Deselect. Now we're gonna get rid of this whole sheet, so don't worry that it looks really clone stampy. That's totally fine. Now the only thing we might just clean up a little bit is the tree, because that looks really obvious. The tree will be there. The tree's gonna be there. So I'm not gonna worry about it too much because this is supposed to be quick and dirty. This is just for something fun on Facebook. Now, here's what I want to do next. I am looking to select the wall that's behind the tree. This is pretty advanced, so buckle your seatbelts. I just went from beginner to advanced real fast. This is gonna be pretty advanced, so it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be advanced. You could do a quick and dirty version, but I figured I might as well go all the way. So what did I just do? I brought up select color range in the select dialog box, select color range. I clicked on the color area that I wanted to have selected. While holding shift, you can see the little plus sign come up. And so I continuously click and add to my selection. And it looks pretty close to the way I want it. You can change the fuzziness appropriately so that it's just the right amount of tree and wall. Okay. So you know what? Let's first punch out that selection. This makes more sense, okay? First punch out this selection because that's a clean selection around their heads. Next, you go to your brush tool. Well, there's a ton of different ways to do this. Let's actually go to L, so quickly make a mask thingy. Boom. Select that area. Go Option. Command Delete, which fills it with white. And now is when we select that color range. And since we haven't selected a new color range since the last time we did it, it's still active exactly as we want it from last time. So we do that, feather it, we bring this up, we zoom in. This is where it gets tricky. Command H means you're temporarily hiding that selection. It's still active, it's still there, but you're hiding it. Now you go to the brick layers mask. This probably sounds so dumb and so counterintuitive, but it makes sense. X to flip-flop your black and white. Right now we want to paint with white because we want to reveal the brick as the wall. Got it? So I'm painting with my brush with my selection made, right? And it's like magic. It just paints, it doesn't paint on the tree. It only paints behind the tree because we were able to select that color range. Freaking brilliant. I tell you, these programs blow my mind. Okay. Enough time spent on that nonsense. Now, what I'm going to do, because I think it'll make more sense in the long run, is I'm going to drag this mask. Now, bear with me. I know this sounds crazy. Drag the mask from the brick layer to the background layer. Now hold on. Don't freak out. Now put it above it. I know this looks insane. Don't freak out. Command I, which inverts that mask. So essentially what we did, instead of the brick layer being on top, punching out the foreground, we put the foreground layer on top, punching out the background. Hope that makes sense. But so now if we were to get rid of the brick layer, you can see that there's nothing behind them, right? It's negative pixels, negative. Transparent pixels, non-existent pixels. So Command T, transform that layer, right click, perspective. Why are we doing that? Don't have time to tell you. Just kidding. We're doing that so it looks natural, right? Because it didn't look natural. Because we have to match the perspective of where the camera was stationed. And so essentially what I'm doing is I am looking at the top edge of this fireplace and trying to line it up with the bottom edge of these bricks, these what are horizontal lines. And if I quickly undo that perspective change and then redo it, you can see where it's starting to make more sense and fit better. Okay, now let's put an adjustment on that brick layer because I personally think it's a little too dramatic and too out of place. So I like to use curves. Now right here, that clips it to the layer below it, so it is only affecting our bricks layer. And I'm going to drag this down to kind of soften the whites so they're not quite so harsh. Same thing, I'm going to drag up the blacks so that the lines of the bricks are just kind of less noticeable. And if we toggle that on and off, you can see I just sort of muted the bricks so the bricks aren't such an obvious like center point of the composition, because you're not supposed to notice them. It's just supposed to sort of blend into the background. So boom, I'll probably revisit that. I'm gonna delete the mask because it's not doing anything. It's all white. So we got 3 layers so far. Awesome. Okay, now it's time to bring in our frame. Yip-de-doo. I'm going to make it the approximate size that we want it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just sort of something pretty close. Enter. Now hide it. Now we need to flatten everything, duplicate it, shrink it into a painting, into that frame. So here's how we do that. Highlight all your layers except for the frame. Command J duplicates it all. Command E flattens it. Now a quicker way to do that, just because I first wanted to show you so you understand what's happening. duplicate, flatten. Command Option Shift E. Yeah, it's been a while. Just kidding. So that made a composite snapshot of all those layers. Freaking boom, just like that. So now we have another version of it. Here's the tricky part. Or here, not tricky, here's the essential part. Right click, convert to smart object. I'll explain why that's so important later, but you really want it to be a smart object so that you preserve editing capabilities and you're working non-destructively. Just understand that. We'll get back to it. Bring the frame back up. Let's name this art, this one frame. Let's select them both. Command G, put them in a group. Name it framed art. Boom. Now we need the size to be right. Command T, transform. Let's drag this on down. Whoops. Let's drag this on down. Now you can zoom in so you can see what we're doing. And that was Command plus and minus to zoom in and out. So enter when you have it look the way you want. Okay, it's a good start. Now, here's what we want to do. What is wrong with this picture? The frame is in front of them. So now what we want to do is we need to understand that layers, when stacked on top of each other in the layers panel, that correlates with what layer is on top of what layer in Z space. Z space is Z-axis, so towards your face or away from your face, whereas Y is up and down, X is left and right, Z is towards you and away from you. So layers can be stacked on top of each other in Z space. So right now, this needs to be behind our subject's heads so it looks natural. And in this case, we already made the mask. We're going to call it FG for foreground. We already made that mask, so the hard work is over. There's no need to do anything else. All we have to do is drag that to the top, and boom, the frame is now behind them. But I want to match the perspective a little better. So select that group, transform. You could use perspective again. In this case, I think I prefer distort because it's a little more customizable. And again, just trying to match those angles. Enter. Oops. You can drag it where you want it. Enter. Okay, now a few things that we want to do. For one, we want to make this frame look more natural in this environment. There's multiple ways to do that. First of all, you can tell that the photo of the frame is a little softer, or I'm sorry, sharper and not as noisy as the original photo. So let's go into that frame layer, select it, filter, we're going to blur it, Gaussian blur, very small amount. Let's add another filter. So we blurred it and now we're going to add some noise. So filter, add noise, just a little bit. You want to click monochromatic in this case because it's just one color. You don't need colorful noise in this case. Sometimes you do. And then this is why it's so important to make it a smart layer, or sorry, your layers a smart object to begin with, because these effects that we have put on that layer will always exist where on that layer, and we can re-edit them and readjust them. And you can collapse that. You can at any point double click, brings it back up, and you can change the parameters. In fact, I'm going to make that a little bit lower now that I look at it. So more subtle. Okay. Now we want a shadow, because it's only right that a frame would cast a shadow. So actually, just so I can show you multiple ways to do things, down here, FX, drop shadow. I'm not going to get too fancy with this, but depending on the scene, you could make it a harder shadow, a softer shadow. I'm going to go with pretty soft and subtle, so it blends in. Now, to toggle that shadow on and off, you can see how big of a difference it makes. It really enhances the 3D perception of what's going on. Okay. Now let's go to our art. So here's a key piece as well. Let's look up close at this. Since it's a smart object, we can add a filter, filter gallery. Oh, my back is killing me. And check it out. We got a bunch of different filter options that we could play with. And there's one called paint. Now we want to zoom in. Clearly that's way too intense, so let's bring our brush size down. Sharpness. And with any given filter, it gives you parameters, paint dubs. Let's see. Rough pastels. I actually kind of like this one better. Stroke length. Scaling. Stroke detail. And again, play with these parameters until it looks just the right amount of distorted that you want it to. Sure, we'll try that. There's watercolor too. Nope, don't like it. Let's go with that, because it kind of looks like it has a canvas texture, and that's what I was going for. So let's zoom in, and then let's toggle the eyeball on what says filter gallery on that layer, and you can see the before after. And you can see it added a little texture that makes it feel a little bit more like a painting. Now, you know what I'm going to do, actually, now that I look at it? Filter gallery, paint dubs, brush size, sharpness. So I just doubled up on the filters, so there's two. Good, good, awesome, I love it. What are we missing? We're missing one thing. We are missing the painting within a painting within a picture, and etc., etc. So now is when we select all of our layers, Command, Option, Shift, E, Composite Snapshot. I don't know how else to explain that. That's what we did. Now we want to replace the art that's currently in this photo with our composite snapshot. So I'm going to double click on the smart object, and here's once again why smart objects are the most powerful, one of the most powerful things in Photoshop. Duplicate layer, layer 1 PSB, delete it from here. So basically we just brought that snapshot of what we're currently looking at into, whoops, cancel, into that smart object. So it's within that smart object, and delete the old layer, save, and watch, just like that. Ta-da! It automatically appeared within our painting in the background. How freaking trippy. Let's keep this going. Let's select those layers again. Command Option Shift E, composite snapshot. Duplicate to our smart object. Jump over here. And so every time we're adding one more frame. Delete the old one, save, go back to the original, watch, wait for it, wait for it. Oh, that's why, derp. Boom. There it is. Should we do one more or is that enough? Let's do one more. This is amazing. This is a cool project. Alright, select it all. Composite snapshot, right click, duplicate, put it over there, doopity-dee, delete it, you don't need it, and delete the old one, save, look at it, and boom, just like that, you've got a picture within a picture, 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 within my tutorial, within the internet, within this universe. You get the idea. I love it. I think that's it, folks. So here's before, and that's after. If this were a commercial corporate project, I would probably do a lot more meticulous little things, but for what it is, not a bad, quick and dirty, fun little holiday edit. So let's send to he's typing. That's hilarious. Thank you, man. Thank you.